So we are here with Jackie James. Thanks you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into the bourbon business?
Oh gosh, well, a friend of mine took me to a celebratory dinner at a whiskey bar. And at the time, I drank vodka sodas, champagne, Sauvignon Blanc. I'm like, what are we doing here? And he goes, just trust me, it's something different. Well, it was one of the best nights of my life. So everybody there was drinking whiskey, celebrating or commemorating something different. So there was a father telling the son that his grandfather had cancer, terminal. There was a boss letting go of an employee. I mean, and there were two brothers that hadn't seen each other in 20 years.
Wow.
And then there was me and my friend. And I'm like all these men, I was the only woman, but it was tearful, happy, shared experiences. And everyone started sharing their bottles, and we're talking, now that I know.
Good stuff.
Like my very first pour ever was a Van Winkle 12.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh, just get the bottle then. And my friend looks at me like, ugh. And I'm thinking, what is it, like $50, $100? You know, had no idea. But the way the energy was showed me that alcohol didn't mean sobbing, crying, creating drama, which says a lot about where I was at that point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But getting a preview to what whiskey offered people, I fell in love with the brown juice, but before that, I fell in love with the people and the experiences how it's so cliche, but whiskey truly brings us together. So I'm a little different because I'm not an expert. I'm not, I have so much respect in the world for people that are experts. I never want to claim that. I'm more of a facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a whiskey friend. I call myself a whiskey coach. So whiskey can be intimidating for some people, specifically women, and they feel like they have to know. Like you just came to my seminar. Not once did we talk about caramel or vanilla, and no offense to that, but it can be intimidating to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will say, well, what's nosing? I'm like, it literally means smell. But sometimes the verbiage can be intimidating. So my goal and my purpose is to make it more approachable and then use that to help bring people together.
So why do you think that women, so we drink wine and we feel very comfortable drinking wine, we'll all order the Cosmopolitan, we'll order other drinks.
It's socially acceptable.
But why is it that whiskey seems to be the plateau that we can't get over?
Well, I can tell you from my personal experience, when I started drinking whiskey, I hate the word influencer, but I was quote-unquote an influencer in a different area, and two women immediately messaged me and said, oh, be careful. Be careful. And I'm like, why? I got way more boozy drinking stuff because the thing is I respect my whiskey. It actually slows me down to take a minute to appreciate it, to look at it, to smell it, to try it with water, to try it on the rocks, to try it neat, to try it in a cocktail. It's way easier to guzzle a bottle of wine and not think twice. Okay, so let me jump to this. One of the pieces of advice that I love to give men in my whiskey group is if you don't know something, it's okay. Please say, I don't know. Let me find out and I'll get back to you. If you don't want to find out, you don't have to. But say, I don't know. Women, if you know, own it. So I had come right back literally was on the plane back from Kentucky from my executive bourbon steward Save and Thief Society. Mm-hmm. And I sat next to a guy who was a Scotch drinker, and he was insistent on something that I knew wasn't true. And I'm like, I have my book in my purse. But he was so confident, it was like he told me the sky was purple.
Oh, wow.
And I believed him so much. I'm like, what's wrong with my eyes that I think the sky is blue? But clearly the sky is purple because you're so confident. You know this is a fact. And he did me a favor because I learned when we know something, it's okay to know it as women. And for men, if they don't know, you don't have to bullshit. So one quote I love, I had a testimonial from someone at Kentucky Peerless who said, Fred Minnick, who's a dear friend, is a bourbon historian. And he said, but Jackie James is a bourbon futurist. And I loved that because let me tell you the easiest question. I've taken all the courses, right? Mm-hmm. Where was whiskey? Where did it start? I have heard Ireland, I have heard Scotland, I have heard Egypt, from all credible places. Yeah. And I'm like, so you don't know. So no, I'm not going to focus on dissecting the history of what's really true. I'm going to focus on the future and making it more inclusive, which doesn't mean we have to make it flavored or water it down or put a pink bow on the glass, right? Now, some women, some men, a lot of men love watered down flavored pink bow on glass stuff. But when I started my whiskey coaching stuff, women who never drank whiskey before, those gals are drinking barrel proof, cask strength, neat. Their husbands are drinking the Manhattans, old fashioned. I'm not judging that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting to me that once a woman knows what she wants, which I think is the biggest battle, we get what we want. And that's the confidence factor. I used to go to the bar and be like, oh, I don't know, you tell me, what should I get? One, I learned that drives bartenders nuts.
Yes, it does.
but two, I was like, the confidence that came with, today I feel like, a Four Roses single barrel on a rock. It just felt so empowering to know what I wanted, exactly how I wanted it. And it bled over to my non-whiskey life.
So what would you say to somebody who's new to the whiskey world and who might be a little bit intimidated coming in, starting to try new things? What do you tell them?
I would say thank you. I would say I'm proud of you for getting out of your comfort zone, which is the biggest hurdle. And especially whiskey. I mean, I will tell you, the first time someone asked me, they asked a group of us, what do you smell? And I said, I smell butterscotch. And I will never forget, and he said, no, you don't. It's toffee.
Ew.
Toffee. We're talking about something you
like-
smell from a glass, and it's
Yeah.
subjective. I could say I smell cilantro. Who are you to tell me I'm wrong? But it really hurt me. And it was good because it made it my purpose to make sure nobody felt like that ever again. If you say I taste cotton candy, awesome. So when I actually start my whiskey tastings, we don't do that. We do music, we do colors, we do things that are so out of the box that people know they cannot be wrong.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we'll move to tasting notes. But to be honest, most people just Google what experts say, and then they repeat caramel,
Yeah.
vanilla, oak, and it's like, okay, well, that's boring. So we're all just trying to impress each other here. Tell me what this reminds you of. One of my favorites was I got into a debate on a podcast with a round table that somebody called me out and said, you say no one can be wrong, which I do, and I stand behind. And he says, if someone said I love Fireball, you'd say cool. And I'd say, absolutely. First of all, do you know how successful Fireball is?
Fireball's awesome in certain
That's
situations.
very well Fireball. But let me tell you this. I said, I have a client who has more money than you and me and everybody in this room combined. His dad passed away. His memory of his dad was going on fishing trips, drinking Fireball.
Aw.
You want me to tell him he's wrong? Because it's not expensive enough whiskey? Get out of here with that.
I was reading your bio, and I had no idea that Fox had
A whiskey?
a whiskey.
Yeah, no idea.
It's always
Shout out to
amazing
Fox.
to me
I
the
did-
random folks
Yep.
who are into whiskey. So how did that come about, and how did your relationship with that situation come about?
So, the Whiskey with Jackie James, my brand, right? I have a community that I'm growing. One of my founding members, his name's Jacob Ullman. He is the head of production and talent for Fox Sports. So Fox, the parent company, Entertainment, made this show called Monarch with Susan Sarandon, and in the show they make a bourbon. So Fox Entertainment decided to make a bourbon to marry along with the show.
Oh, that's cool.
And launched Truth Teller 1839. I'm proud of them that they went way out of the wheelhouse, and especially for a behemoth company like that. I mean, I worked at Nissan and the Irvine company before, and it's like the Titanic, right? Like trying to do something new with a huge company. Not necessarily to go religious, but I love the quote, and I forget who said it, forgive me, but it was like, professionals built the Titanic and amateurs built the Ark. And I love that because it's like, true,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just a fresh perspective. And again, I don't know if you were in the beginning of my seminar, but I'm like, this is not going to be like anything you're used to.
Right, it was different than the others that
very
we had been
different.
to.
But
Yeah.
I'm more about the people.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful for whiskey to let me meet people like you. I mean, bonus that you're amazing women. But I think we're in the right direction because now it's not just, women talking.
Yeah.
It's really people that love whiskey talking.
Well, it's been so nice to
Yeah,
meet
thank
you, and
you.
we're going
Great
to
to meet you.
check out the
I know you brought your-
next panel. You're on a panel later.